Hey guys, it's Steve for CollectorMania. I'm here doing a video about card alters today. This is going to be part of a series that I'm putting together where we're going to kind of do some time-lapse videos of card alters and stuff like that. I figured for the first one that I would kind of show you guys a few of the cards that I've altered and a few of the products that I've learned to use over the years. Let's see here, let's get into it here. So a few of the cards that I thought I'd spotlight here, this is a Thrune that I've actually done for my wife here recently. It's for her 1v1 commander deck. It came out really, really well. I really like this card a lot, especially like the orange highlights and stuff like that. It came out pretty cool, pretty sharp. Here's a example of some of the stuff that I've been doing more recently, which is completely taking out the old artwork and putting in my own. It's a lot of fun. It's a little bit more difficult. You have to have a little bit more experience in art, to kind of start trying these kind of things. But pretty much anybody could do it with time. This card, I like Marike, but I do not like the artwork, so I just figured, this would be a good one to kind of change the art entirely. Here's a pretty good example of kind of the fun I have with it sometimes, taking an Ixodor, somebody that is focused on morph, and then turning him into a Power Ranger. It's just kind of tongue-in-cheek. Lots of fun. Had a lot of fun painting this card. I'd say it's probably one of my best like alters, true alters. Been asked a lot of questions for this one. Unfortunately, I'm not going to trade it away because I really like it. Here's a pretty good example of like an in-progress card. I'm actually doing this for a buddy for his birthday. Just kind of showing like some of the layers that I'm putting down. As you'll see, there's kind of like a grayish green down there. That's kind of just a trick that I've learned over the years to kind of start a lower layer of color and then put the higher, or like the bright green on top of that. Helps a lot with like misty effects, stuff like that. And you'll see that more as we continue the series, like some of those tricks that I was talking about. Here, let's get into some of the products here. A big part of it, obviously, is the paint. I found over the years that using model colors, any of the Vallejo, Games Workshop, stuff like that is where you want to be. They are formulated to go on in thinner layers, which really helps a lot with these cards. One of the big things that I've found, especially with like tournament play, is that judges do not want to be able to find your card in the deck, of course, because that's technically cheating. And with these paints, I've had a lot of success. I've had several of my alters go to tournaments and, pass the test, essentially, not really had a problem. You will find, especially with like let's go back here for a second. With cards like this, it's a little bit more difficult because you're not really, I guess, continuing something, you're making your own art. Sometimes this can get a little bit tricky with the layers, but as long as you kind of, know your stuff and are using thin enough layers of paint, you really won't have a problem. And that's just experience, really, something that I've learned over the years. Another kind of paint that I use is this Liquitex. I've used this more as like an artist for years, doing like big scale paintings, stuff like that. I love acrylic painting and watercolor and stuff like that. It works okay. It kind of runs into that layering issue that I was talking about. It'll kind of build a texture after a little bit while, this is designed to be a little bit thicker, go on in heavier layers, stuff like that. So you can't really fault it for that. But I've found that keeping a tube of white around isn't a bad idea. It helps you kind of save a little bit of money because the water or the model color can sometimes get a little bit more expensive, like $3 or $4 a tube, whereas, this is probably $10, but it's a lot more paint. And then let's see here. Obviously, you're going to want a good mix of paintbrushes. I have a ton, as I said before, I do a lot of painting outside of this as well. So I've learned to just kind of like pick up a pack of paintbrushes every time I'm at a hobby store. One of those little, like, I don't know, 7 to 12 packs of paintbrushes. They work great. There's a lot of really good detail brushes in there. You want a good mix of like flats and rounds. If you need to buy 2 packs to do that, I definitely would recommend it. They all have different things that they're useful for, different tricks, highlights, backgrounds, all kinds of stuff like that. Yeah, with that, let's see here. I always kind of keep a glass around. You want water. With my paints, I like to water my paints down a lot with just water. You can also use airbrush, what is it, thinner, airbrush thinner. That works really well too. I have just found over the years that water works just fine, and I haven't really had any trouble with it. And probably the most crucial thing that I tell everybody is to get yourself a spray finish, like a matte finish, even a workable finish works, or anything really that really just gives your card or your paint something to bind to the card with. A lot of people have trouble with that in the beginning, because you'll notice if you don't put something like this on there, the paint can sometimes run and cause all kinds of problems. So this has really helped over the years. Just being able to spray your cards. I usually do it in about 3 or 4 cards at a time. This stuff's pretty easy, you know, just like spray paint. You do want to be careful not to overspray your cards, because if you put too much on, it will leave a texture. Which isn't necessarily noticeable, but it can be a little bit annoying to look at it, especially when you're trying to get something just perfect and you'll see different sheens. Usually, what I do is I spray before and then I spray after. It kind of blends everything in if you spray it afterwards too. There's also a gloss finish that you could use to make the card shiny. I have only done that a few times. I prefer the matte personally, especially if I'm going to put it in a perfect fit sleeve. It just ends up looking like the card is all one sheen essentially. Another kind of off-the-wall trick that I've learned over the years is to keep some toothpicks around. This is really good. It's almost like a magic eraser. If you happen to get a little bit of paint on like one of the edges or anything like that, one of the word bubbles that you want to keep, clean, it's really easy just to kind of scratch the paint off really lightly with one of these. You don't want to go too far with it, obviously. You don't want to scratch into the card, but you can kind of just rub lightly and then the paint will come right off, kind of chip off. Really good for precision fixes. Another kind of useful tool is these micron pens. These are kind of expensive, but do they work great. Anything that's like super high detailed, you can actually get these in pretty much any color that you need. If you need to make a line, especially on like a light surface or a light background, like a white background, like these work amazing. The only thing I will tell you with this is that if you get any water next to it, it will run. So you kind of have to be careful, and I actually kind of have learned to use that to my advantage, like blending it into my paint. It works really well. Also really good for signatures if you're, once again, doing like a light background. Doesn't really work for the black backgrounds, which usually I fade into black or, a darker color, unless I'm really, wanting to spend a lot of time on a card, because that does take some time to do, the bottom of the card as well. Another really useful tool, which you'll kind of see, I use this a lot, it's covered in paint, for a good reason, is this basically wet palette. They work great, especially for beginners. Keeping your colors, your mixed colors fresh is just amazing. You don't want to be, spending, X amount of hours remixing your colors, doing it a million, well, I guess it wouldn't take hours, but you know what I mean. Mixing your colors all the time and, having to do that is kind of a pain. Really all it is just a container with this paper in here. Basically, this paper is made to hold on to moisture. What you do is you actually boil it for about 15 minutes. And then you just kind of set it in here and it holds onto that water for you and keeps your colors fresh. And here, let's see. Let's get into it. Underneath this is a sponge. You just get this kind of damp. Right now it's really dry because I kind of left this open last night on accident. Usually some warm water and that does the trick. Like I said, it's really useful. Some other things that I've kind of used over the years is like tape. A lot of people will talk about like taping your cards down, stuff like that. I've actually found that to hinder me. I like to be able to kind of turn my cards when I need to, and taping it down is just kind of inconvenient for me. With that, I think that's pretty much all I got to go over product-wise. Hopefully we'll be putting up a video here pretty soon of a time-lapse video of, I think I'm going to do a brainstorm. I know that I might alter this Temerian Fiend too. I just did a Temerian Fiend not too long ago, and I really liked how it turned out. But yeah, we'll see you guys next time. Just remember to like and subscribe. Thanks, guys.